More drum pad talk today. Today I have RamPad. RamPad I feel like is a company that maybe is not as well known as some of the other more talked about practice pads like Offworld and things like that. But RamPad has been around for 10 years. They've been around for a long time and they make a quality product, so I'm happy to put out a video and discuss this. Now RamPad is a little bit different design than what I will say is the typical pad that most of you are used to. And those pads have a composite plastic type base with a bouncy surface of something on top of it, and then a plastic rim and plus minus a laminate for some extra articulation. RamPad has a plastic base, and then on top of that is a regular metal rim using regular lugs and a regular drum head. In this case, a 10-inch. They use Aquarian drum heads. And the nice thing about that is that if you ever needed to swap some things out on this, it's just regular drum parts. Regular 10-inch rim. If you want a different head, you can just swap the things out. So it's a nice design like that. Now that said, even though it is a drum-like design, as the paperwork that he sends with it implies or says, RamPad is not a drum. And that is to say that the rebound on this, the feel of this comes from what's under the head. And apparently what's under the head is some special sauce secret of potentially cork and other stuff that I'm not positive of. So tightening down the head, just like with a lot of the other pads, it doesn't affect the feel of it. It may make the head sound a little bit higher pitched. And as time goes on, Mylar heads do stretch a little bit. So after, as it also says on here, 40 to 50 hours of playing, you might slightly tighten down the lug some. But again, it's not going to alter the feel of the pad because that feel comes from what's underneath the head. Now he has several different types of pads. He has the Symphonic series, that's $65. And this has a little bit softer feel for more drum set or orchestral type stuff. And for something like that, if you wanted, you could even put a coated head on it and you could do some brush stuff if you're doing that kind of thing. He has his Marching series, that's also $65. And the Marching series is going to be a little bit more like you're playing on a Kevlar head, like marching. And then there's the RamPad Pro, which is what I have here. That's $85. And the RamPad Pro is a little bit louder and it has even a little bit more rebound because the center 3 inches of it is a little bit more beefed up. And this pad is actually, it is pretty loud. So if you've got this at home and you're playing, it's a decently loud pad. I'll put it on the stand and play on it a little bit, but it's a pretty loud pad. If you put it on a desk, not quite as loud, but especially on a stand, I'll show you, it's decently loud pad. Nice sound, nice articulate sound. You can also get, as you can see here, I have the Blue Coats B on it, goes with my Blue Coats helmet, go blue. You can get a custom design under the head for an extra $10. The RamPad Pro, he partnered with Pete Sappinen, a marching percussionist professional that you may be aware of, and he came up with this graphic design for the head, and that comes in several different colors. Weight on this pad, 3 pounds, 6 ounces. So not too heavy of a pad. You can take it, you can throw it in your backpack, you can carry it with you, and it's not going to weigh you down. Let's talk in a little bit more detail on the construction of this pad. Like I mentioned, it's a 10-inch metal rim. I did say, hey, how come you don't use a plastic rim? Because this metal rim will be a little bit rougher on your sticks if you're doing a lot of shots, like a regular drum would. And he said, well, the rim is under a pretty good amount of tension, holding that head down, and so the metal rim can take that a lot more. And then also, again, if you need to swap it out, it's just a regular metal rim. The lugs go down into the base, and then on the bottom of it, there are these pieces here that hold those lugs in place that they screw down into. There's also these rubber feet, such that when you have it on a surface, it will keep it from moving around too much. However, I will say that when you're playing on it, it will move around a little bit. And that is a product, a lot of these smaller pads, they will move around a little bit within, maybe an inch or so. So just something to be aware of. Might work a little bit better on a stand. Also on the bottom, you can see that it is kind of hollowed out with these pieces that go through here, and I think those add some structural rigidity. And also I think this acts as a bit of a resonance chamber through here. If you have it on a desk, it's kind of muffled because the sound goes into the desk. But if you have it on a stand, this resonance chamber of sorts on the bottom here is going to make the pad pretty loud. One of the things that he also kind of touts about the goodness of this pad is that you can hear the inner notes. You can talk over it, you can hear the articulated inner notes. Small thing to note on the RamPad Pro, because that center portion is beefed up, the head actually sticks up a little bit above the rim, such that if you can see, if you put a stick here, there's gonna kind of move back and forth some. And the only place that would really come into play is if you're doing shots, your stick is angled down just slightly, because, you know, just slightly when you're doing the shot. And if you're doing some cross-sticking parts, if you're doing it from back here, you're gonna cross-stick the head. So you need to move it a little bit forward and get that sort of thing from there. So there's something to note, but you're getting increased rebound with that. And of course, everyone wants more rebound. Everyone wants as close as they can get to a real marching snare. So let's have a listen to it, see what it sounds like. Now, if you're gonna put the pad on a stand, I recommend getting a high quality, sturdy stand so the pad doesn't wobble around any more than it has to. And also a nice option is the pad that comes up to waist height so that it's kind of like having a marching snare. This stand from Gibraltar is a nice option. People have asked about it in other videos, and I'll put a link to it down below. You can check it out, but let's have a listen to the pad itself. The edges of this, because of that extra beefiness in the center, the edges do ripple a little bit. So if you get all the way out to the edge, it's a little bit different type playing surface, and it's probably going to be a little bit uneven, but you can get probably, 3/4 of the way out to the edge and still have a nice even surface. People will ask in videos, how does this pad compare to this pad as far as the feel and the rebound and which feels most like a drum? I would say that from playing on all these different pads, they're all different in their own good ways. Not one of them is definitively more drum-like. They're all just different good. They just feel different and they're all good. And this is another good option for that. It doesn't have a snare sound, but it's got an articulate non-snare sound. So there you go, RamPad, check this one out. Another great option, it's affordable. You can have it because they actually make their products, unlike some companies. So check this one out from RamPad.